All right, y'all. It's time to have a conversation. It is time for us to have a dialogue because I've told y'all this. I have an agenda here on this channel. One agenda is very clear. This guy needs a raise, right? We need to find a way to pay this man more money. We need to find a way to retain him. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to do that because this video is not only about him, Coach Emmett Jones. This is also a shout out to Drake Stoops as a senior. He deserves a video as well. I didn't talk about him a lot in the final game of the season on senior day for a reason, because this video is going to be about Drake Stoops. We're going to also talk about all the great stuff that Emitt Jones has done in our wide receiver room because, man, does he deserve some props? So sit back, relax. We're going to dive into the numbers of the wide receiver room here at Oklahoma while also giving some major praise to our boy Drake Stoops. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you all for pulling up to the channel. We got a lot of new subs over the last few days, and I want to let y'all know what we do here. We talk a lot of OU football and college football in general. The Unfair Sports Podcast is coming back full effect, especially as this portal is going to be going bananas, as well as the coaching carousel. So don't be shocked if you see a long podcast where I'm talking about the Jimbo Fisher situation and A&M messing up and all of that jazz. But let's dive right into this video and focus on the OU wide receiver room and all the greatness that we're seeing there. And so I want to talk about this. Let's look at this, guys. So in the final game of the season, senior day, right? I mean, technically day, since we didn't really get to have a night game. You know, the Big 12 hates us, puts us on Black Friday. But Drake Stoops went out there and got us 12 catches for 125 and a touchdown. Final game, regular season game as a Sooner. His game log is absurd. Since the Texas game, he went 7 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. 4 catches, 76 yards. 12 catches, 134. 10 catches, 164. Against West Virginia. That's the game where he just exploded in that game. And a 60-yard touchdown was just chef's kiss. 4 catches for 63 yards against BYU, and then he wraps it up with the 12 for 125. But that's not the thing that really jumps out to me about him, right? This is what jumps out. Guess who leads the Big 12 in catches this season? You got it, Drake Stoops. Who was second in yards? Actually, third. You got it, Drake Stoops. Who led the Big 12 in touchdown receptions this season? You got it, Drake Stoops. Right. Drake Stoops had an absurd season to the point of, hey, man, he's going to end up on a roster in the NFL. He is 4th in the Big 12 in yards per game at 73.3. He had a season. He had a season. And that's something that's going to be big for him going into the NFL, right? Everything that we've seen about Drake Stoops tells us that this man is a hard worker and potentially something special, because everybody on the team has talked about his leadership ability and everything about him when it comes to that. My goodness. If you ain't sold on Drake Stoops, I don't know how to sell you on anything else, but I want to give him some praise. I wanted y'all to hop in the comments. Let Drake Stoops know how much you appreciate him. Right. You know, he's a player that walked on and everybody basically said he's only here because his father is the head coach here. And then he goes out there and he puts up the Big 12's top numbers. Very consistent player. Very, very efficient. Great route runner, by the way. He's one of those players that you can tell studies the game and figures out the best way to use his body. He's not the biggest dude in the world, right? I mean, when you look at his measurables itself, he's coming in at 5'10", 189, which is not actually bad for a wide receiver. We've seen some wide receivers in that size. He's just not the fastest. But, you know, Marvin Mims is not that far off. I think Marvin Mims is maybe 5'11", 190-ish, right? So he's just not the fastest. But at the same time, the grit, all of the cliches you would say about a receiver like himself kind of applies here, because Drake is one of those players that busts his tail. And honestly, on top of having a coach like Emitt Jones, the Emitt Jones agenda really helps too, because he goes from, last season he had 39 catches for 393, and this year he just was catching everything. Dude was nails. He was clutch on short plays when we needed first downs. The dude was out there making it happen. And so I think this is one of those players you can definitely see Bill Belichick picking up, because he plays similar to what you would see out of a Patriots wide receiver, right? He's He's great route runner. He's very intelligent, very high football IQ, and he finds a way to just get open in pockets when you really need him to be open in pockets. That's why I say he's the Belichick guy. I mean, that's what you saw out of Edelman. That's what you saw out of Wes Welker. That's what you saw out of Branch, right? Deion Branch was known for that. They just got into those holes and pockets and got open. That's what Drake Stoops did for us. And so he's one of those players you got to celebrate, because I think that he's going to end up on an NFL roster and just as a route runner itself, right? He'll be out there. Don't worry about it. I mean, I know there's a lot of haters out there for Stoops. Like I said, he's only out there because of his father, but nah, Drake's got it. So he deserved the first half of this video on all the praise, but I want to jump now into Emitt Jones and back to my agenda of getting this man a raise, because now that Jeff Lebby is out, the speculation is Seth Littrell's going to take over play calling, which makes sense. You bring Littrell in specifically to prepare for the next iteration of the team. You knew that Jeff Lebby was a hot commodity. He actually was in the conversations for head coaching jobs as a with the G5s when he was at Ole Miss, as well as soon as he came here after year one. Heck, I remember the rumor that he was that he was in consideration for the Ravens offensive coordinator position in the NFL. So there was real talks about Lebby is definitely a known person. And so now that he's gone, Seth Littrell's brought in similar systems, complete air raid setup. And then you bring in Emitt Jones, who has done some offensive coordinating, in high school. And, he did some stuff at Kansas, but he's a leader of men. And we've seen it with the statistics of the wide receiver room here at Oklahoma. You can't ask any questions about how great this man has been. Did a video about him a while back just to point some stuff out. But let's talk about this, though. Let's talk about these numbers here. So you got Emitt Jones out here with Drake Stoops as the top receiver in the Big 12, right? In receptions. And he's third in yards. But you also got Nick Anderson at 7th, and then you got Jalil Farouk at 11th, right? The top average out there is Nick Anderson, the player that we've been hoping to get, as a redshirt freshman. Nick Anderson showed the bleep out. Jaden Gibson goes out there with the muscle catches as well as just dragging dudes to the end zone, throwing the finger up, touchdown. That is the Emitt Jones effect, right? The ability to lead the Big 12 with 10 touchdown receptions from Drake Stoops and then Nick Anderson being right behind him at 9, right? That is something that comes from coaching at Emitt Jones. And so what I've been hearing and rumors, of course, floating around the interwebs is that Emitt Jones is going to be a co-offensive coordinator with Seth Littrell, which gets him the experience because he's already the passing game coordinator. You give him that title, gets him that raise, gets him that experience to where one day he may become the offensive coordinator here at Oklahoma. Believe me when I say I would not complain. Because, Seth Littrell's going to be here for a few years. That's the reason why you also bring in a person like him as well as Matt Wells. They've both done the head coaching thing before. They both were head coaches for over 5 years. They've got that experience of being able to manage and game manage like you're supposed to. And then things just, didn't work out in their favor with the smaller schools they were at. Matt Wells did it at Tech and it just didn't work out post-COVID. And so you bring in those coaches to help lead your guys and grow them. And I think that this is something that's great for Emitt Jones because what does that do? You get Emitt Jones around these former head coaches to build up additional experience, and that man goes out there and gets himself a job. The good thing is he's going to be here for a few years. He said it himself when he first started. He didn't come here just to fly in and fly back out. He came here to be with BV and win some chips. He's going for some hardwood. And I love to hear that because that means that he's going to be loyal, probably to a fault, but he's going to be focused on really crafting himself. He's not trying to get in here and get out and ride the wave and get a job. And now let me preface this. I'm not saying that about Lebby. Lebby was already a hot commodity coming in and you expected him to leave after a couple of years, maybe 3. I honestly did not think Lebby was going to last going into the SEC. And that's not him being fired. That was him getting a job. And now we're seeing that an SEC school wants him because he runs a similar system as what they had in years past. Lebby's going to see some success at Mississippi State. I'm just going to tell y'all that now. He's going to see some success. He may not go out there and get 10-win seasons all the time, but that's never been Mississippi State in general. They've had, a couple of them with like Dan Mullen in the Dak Prescott era. For the most part, you're going to get some success. And so bringing Emitt Jones in and grooming him, especially what he's done with his wide receiver room, boy, brace yourself, folks. We're going to have fun because our wide receiver is going to be good. And you know who I have not talked about yet? This guy, Andrew Anthony. We lost Andrell Anthony to injury. And he came in here from Michigan looking like one of the best wide receivers in college football. Talk to me, folks. Talk to me. What should we expect out of Emitt Jones going forward, right? Like, I'm excited that we've got some coaches on this staff to move us in the SEC and we do good, right? We've got guys that like to be aggressive. We got guys that know how to push the ball down the field while at the same time making sure we make good choices. Going into the SEC, I feel even better. Like, it'd have been great to have Levy to have 1 year, I guess, of continuity with the team, the same guy. But we're going to have the same dudes anyway. That's why you have Latrell on staff for the last year, as well as Matt Wells. Latrell's been there 2 years. Matt Wells been there a year. That's why you bring them in early. Let them be around. Let them help. Let them build. So, shout out to Emitt Jones. Get this man his raise. Y'all know my agenda. I want him to get his raise. He's probably going to get it. Hop in the comments. Let your boy know. What's your thoughts? You think Emitt Jones did good this year? What's your rating on him? We're going to talk about the coaches even more as we wrap up the season. I'll give an end of season report in January. But I'm going to do an end of regular season conversation soon. So be prepared for that. If you made it this far, you like the content, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're going to drop a whole bunch of college football content over the next few days. So expect it from all teams, while also doing a lot of OU content as well. Because, you know, sooner at heart, I'm going to do both. I want to make sure that I'm growing the channel in the right direction. So YouTube says check out one of my videos. Highly recommend it because I've curated it for you. Because we're dropping we're going to probably put out like 20 videos just this week. I'll be working in overdrive, guys. We'll talk soon. Peace.